everybody. We just came out of a meeting with Grand Blanc Township leadership, the town supervisor, the chief of police, fire, and then made the point of meeting with local leaders, state leaders, and federal leaders all in one room. Obviously, we've seen another Michigan community go through a profound tragedy. We've had too many of these in recent years, and we thought it was important to come together, both in the meeting, but here now, standing together, Democrat, Republican, Independent, to condemn this kind of gruesome violence on people who were just experiencing faith and expressing their freedom of religion, and urge everyone to take a breath. It's important that we let law enforcement do what they need to do, that we let stunned families and communities take a moment to collect themselves and not let conspiracies and social media take over. And we wanted to make that point as a group here across the aisle for Michigan, for the country, that what's going on here is a tragedy. And this kind of targeted violence is abhorrent to any good human being. We stand in solidarity with this community that is just yet another member of a terrible fraternity that is dealing with a mass shooting, and in this case also a terrible fire.
And Senator, this area in particular is near and dear to you.
Yes, I live just down the street. I live in Holly. When I heard the news, I think all of us couldn't believe that Grand Blanc Township, no community can ever believe that they would be on the receiving end of an attack like this. But it's where I come to eat and where I come to visit and drive by every day. So one of my first calls actually was to Representative Mike Mueller, who lives just down the street. For me, this is very close to both of us. And again, it doesn't matter what party you're from. This kind of thing just chills you to the bone. And we have a crisis going on, right? We have this happening way too many times. And we have to be leaders right now in acknowledging we have a problem.
Something like this happens in your backyard. Does this make you want to revisit common sense gun reform? I know there's conversation in different parts of the political landscape, but when you have something like this, how does that?
Look, we don't know the circumstances yet. The law enforcement is still doing their investigation, and there'll be plenty of time for people to take this incident and decide what they want to do with it. But for right now, we have a community that's in pain. We have a community that's very diverse politically, religiously, ethnically, racially, and so I think at this point, to me, I have my personal views, and certainly I was the representative of Oxford High School, of Michigan State University. I used to represent Rochester Hills, where we had the splash pad. We had Wayne, Michigan, with a church. We have had, by my count, 5 of these in 4 years. We certainly have a crisis of mental health, and for people feeling like there's no threshold to violence. I think there'll be plenty of time for people to say what they want to say and with the lessons learned out of this incident. But for now, given the context and how many of these incidents have happened just over the past month across the country, we thought it was important to come together and say, we're not going to make this a political football. This is a community in pain. We as leaders are here to try and calm people's nerves, not spin it up with conspiracy theories.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm from out of state. Can you just identify yourself? I just landed.
Hi, Senator Elissa Slotkin.
Senator, have you been in contact with the Trump administration?
When you work on cars as much as I do, you learn what matters most. And for me, that's trust. What sets Advance apart.
Administration, I know they've been following this pretty closely.
So I've been in touch with the Homeland Security Committee, which I serve on, federal law enforcement, just to make sure that they have everything that they need. I haven't talked to the Trump administration, but I'm headed back to Washington. I'm literally going to the airport just after this. We have a vote tonight. So we'll certainly all be talking about this, and I'll be talking about it again on the Senate floor tonight.
Go ahead. You say you've spoken with local law enforcement here. Any idea on when the next news conference is going to be?
I think it's coming up here just in the next hour and a half. I think they are, and
I don't think they set the time yet, but it's sometime today.
And the FBI has taken over the investigation. They'll do all the exploitation. They'll do everything by the book. And I think, I really urge people to take a breath and not just dive into social media and believe everything you hear. This is clearly a mentally ill man, and we just don't understand the motive yet. What we know is that people who were just trying to pray at church were killed in their house of worship, a place that should be a sanctuary and safe. And we need to focus on the community right now and getting them the healing that they need.
This can go for either one of you. Have you guys had a chance, or can you speak to the job that law enforcement is doing? And, it's not an easy job to have to deal with a crisis like this.
I'll start and then hand it to these guys, and certainly Mike is a former law enforcement. I think people don't understand how extraordinary it was what went on yesterday, the complexity of this attack between a vehicle collision, shooting, and then, of course, a fire. There were folks there in seconds, and I think the thing that really came through this morning in our meeting with the chief and with others was how important the active shooter training has been over years in preparing for an incident like this. I cannot imagine how much more loss of life we would have if we didn't have the law enforcement response that we have. And I think we should all be taking our cues from law enforcement right now. They came in, they put their head down, they got to work, they didn't care about politics, they didn't care about social media, they just focused on helping people. And that's what we all should be doing as leaders and as citizens. How do we help and not inflame the situation?
I think that's right, and the only thing that I would add is the extraordinary response time, multiple departments arriving and being able to handle the situation. I think we need to, in the coming days and weeks, really remember our first responders, our firefighters, and our police who are busy processing the scene and doing what they need to do, but we'll need a lot of support from the community as the weeks go forward.
You want to speak to that? Anything on law enforcement? Just as former law enforcement?
Well, just to make sure that, with the law enforcement side of things, the officers and the firefighters that, see this, we got to make sure that we take care of them too with the mental health, because this is going to be an incident that sticks in their mind for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. I was involved in a shooting, so I know what it feels like. They're going to have to make sure they get the treatment. And like the senator said, we need to make sure that this isn't a political thing in our community right now. This is everybody coming together. She has resources. We have resources. Dave Martin and I at the state, and Congresswoman, we all have the resources. We work together, and we want the community to heal together. And that's why we're here together. I mean, we have different opinions on things, but the one thing we always do is to treat each other respectfully. And that's what we need to send a message across the state and the country, that regardless of these times, look at what we've had happen in the last 2 years. But in the last year, this kind of stuff needs to stop. And if we can show solidarity, we can push that out to the communities. And the Grand Blanc community is a great community, and we'll get through this.
Well, could you say your name and spell it for me?
It's Mike Mueller, M-U-E-L-L-E-R.
Who are you, Mike, sorry?
I'm a state representative, 72nd District, that has parts of Grand Blanc Township, and former law enforcement.
So now people are back to being in fear of going to church, going to the local grocery store, or Meijer, or Kroger, movie theater. What do you say to those people now in the community that now have a genuine fear of, I don't know if I can even step outside without maybe something happening to me?
Well, the thing is you can't let fear control the narrative. We have to, as normal Americans, there are people that have problems, mental health issues, but it's just pay attention to your surroundings. If you can tell, anybody, just always, you don't have to be paranoid, but just know your surroundings and know exit routes when you go to these places. Unfortunately, that's the times that we live in, but don't be afraid to venture out back in your community, because you come together, you're not going to have to worry about that. Everybody comes together, it's very diverse, and we can all get along. But the message is just always know your surroundings.
Yeah, I think the other thing that really came out of this meeting was, from my experience in Oxford and at Michigan State, in Rochester Hills, that people who are experiencing a hard time anyways, when they see an incident like this, it's even harder for them. And they sometimes display behavior that's unusual. We gotta come together and say, hey, are you all right? We gotta reach out to people. People have to understand that we live in communities. We don't just live in our little bubbles. And so I just really encourage, if you know someone who's struggling, it was out there in press that this man was a veteran. So we were checking in on our veterans today, right? And how are people feeling? I just think it's an important moment to say to people that you love and that you know in your community, even someone just walking by, like, how you doing? Are you all right? Anything I can do? I think now more than ever, people need each other, and the bonds of community keep us safe.
And really quickly, I know obviously you just met with law enforcement and community leaders. Have any of you had the chance to meet with members of the church or the families of the victims?
I have not.
No, I mean, right now is a process for their grieving, and that will happen over the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.